Welcome back to Lost Legacies, everyone. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
I'm debating if I should bring this up because I've already told you IRL,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I will. You know what? Guys, we've talked about Final Space before. Final Space was an animated series created by Olin Rogers about just it's space adventures, okay? I don't want to get into it because I'll start crying. But anyway, unfortunately, it was a victim of the whole WB or the Warner Brother HBO Discovery merger, all that crap.
Yeah.
And it got canceled for tax write-off purposes, and not just canceled, it got deleted. Like, it's no longer online. I think you can still buy the first two seasons.
Yeah.
They're out there, and we have it. Like, I have the Blu-ray somewhere.
Mm.
However, there's 3 seasons, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, because as soon as that happened, it's already a year ago that this happened? The whole merger?
Maybe a little under.
Maybe. Anyway,
Yeah.
when all this happened, my first thought was like, oh no. Okay, I have to go. I had already bought season 3 when it aired, but I hadn't watched it. I bought it off of Apple TV, or it might have still been iTunes back then. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But just like anything else, the files don't stay on your computer if you're not using them, or something like that. So I didn't have the files anymore. So I log in, I go to my purchases on Apple TV. It's there. When I try to re-download it, it won't let me because it's not just canceled, it's deleted.
Yeah.
Like, those files are not there. So this show, season 3, essentially vanished off the face of the earth. 1 year later, which was last Saturday, I'm cleaning my laptop out, trying to find more memory. I find a file under, like, it's like the TV folder or something like that. And it says something like Apple TV library, and it was dated like 2019. It's like, it's like, oh crap. So I clicked it and I opened it. Final Space season 3 was back in my store, in my library. None of the files were there, so I had to go re-download it, and it let me. So if you are missing something, especially if shows just vanishing, disappearing, if you purchase it through anything where it allows you to download, go through the files, see, because you might still have access to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So if this season ends up somehow making it onto YouTube, it won't have come from me, but I'm sure the world would appreciate it. Haven't watched it, and I know I'm going to be heartbroken because it's going to end on a cliffhanger, but yeah. Maybe we'll watch it on Lost Legacies. It's season 226. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
So, Sam, what else? What's new with you?
Nothing, really.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. We're recording this not that long after we recorded our last one. So, like.
Oh, that's true.
No.
Yeah, we were kind of behind schedule on that last one.
Okay. I will say, so my wife and I, we have a little friendly competition going on right now.
Oh, is money on the line?
No. Oh. We haven't figured out what we're competing for yet.
Oh.
I'll just preface this right now. She's winning. But essentially, we both, we love books. We're book lovers, and we're just like, we want to read more books. We want to, like, we have all these books in our house. I'm listening to audiobooks and stuff, and I'm just like, I want to listen to more books. I want to read the stuff that I want to read. And just for one reason or another, it's been tough, Yeah. Well, we decided to make it a little friendly competition, and we're trying to see who's going to read more books by the end of the year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She's going to win.
Yeah. Hey, you don't know that because
actually,
on
that's
the
a good point.
Yeah, so we're trying to see who's going to read more books this year. Um, when we started, I had been listening to a book like sort of on and off. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
cool, finished it, done. Uh, and then yeah, like it's just been like a little, like little by little, uh, trying to clear out my Libro FM library of all the stuff I've downloaded but
Mm-hmm.
haven't listened to. So
Mm-hmm.
making my way through that. But want to talk about, since we're talking about Final Space, we were talking about, space, talking about sci-fi, all that. Wanted to give a little shout out to the Murderbot Diaries
Mm.
by Martha
You
Wells.
started it, huh?
I started it.
Nice.
Now I read I read the physical copy of the first one, All Systems Red.
Oh, nice.
That took me a while. Which it really shouldn't have, because it's a novella. It's really small. It's like less than 300 pages.
Wow.
Uh,
That's a book.
but for
That's a
one,
novel.
right. But for one reason or another, it took me forever. It's taking me a long time to read physical books right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm finding that listening to books is sort of the way my brain is working right now. So I'm just rolling with it. And so far, I finished two more in the Murderbot
Oh, wow.
Diaries. Yeah. Artificial Condition and Rogue Protocol. These books are so fun. They're
Mm-hmm.
so cool. They're like little, they're really like episodes,
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it in terms of like a TV show, these are just little like, maybe hour-long episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're just following our protagonist, who is a sec unit droid who has hacked their governor module, which means that they are now sort of thinking and acting independently, which means they can sort of do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
They're still being contracted out, from the company that they're in within the first book. But after the events of the first book, things sort of change, and our sec unit, the titular Murderbot, is kind of on their own. They're a free agent amongst the stars. And it's
Nice.
really interesting having this sort of robot protagonist, talking about what it's like being a robot, what it's like traveling, traveling
Mm-hmm.
places, and what it's like dealing with other robots, other machines, and it's like it's so fun and it's
Hmm.
cool. And then, it can get pretty action packed, and the the action scenes are actually they're really cool. They're really well written, and it's very interesting because, like, we think of action scenes like, well, we're humans, so it's humans fighting humans, meat, fighting meat. It's very scary when you have to fight something like a Terminator. You
Mm-hmm.
know what Murderbot does pretty well is like, what's it like when you're the Terminator and you have to fight other Terminators? Like getting into
Mm-hmm.
that headspace of like, well, I've got to take this out, but I'm sort of built different because, I'm thinking of all these other things. I know how to get my way around stuff. And this is just sort of one track mind. How do
Mm-hmm.
I counterbalance that? How do I figure that out?
That's
It's
so
really
cool.
cool. Yeah, it's really cool. There's not a lot in the series right now, and I am trying to like space it out because I really like the series, but there's only,
It's only
there's
4 or 5, right?
I think there's four novellas, and then the fifth one that came out was a novel.
Oh, okay.
So when you're listening to it on audio, the novellas are like 3 hours, 3.5 hours,
Yeah.
but the novel is like 10.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'm
Man, that's
trying to
so
like
cool.
space that out. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's fun if you're looking for, bite-sized, cool sci-fi. Martha Wells, The Murderbot Diaries. You should check it out. Yeah.
President Obama recommended it to me.
Hey.
And by
And
to
now
me, I mean his
you
recommendation
personally.
is on the
No.
cover.
Nope.
So,
Friend of the show, Barack Obama,
yeah, friend of the
recommended
show.
to Matthew. I want you to read Murderbot.
That's cool. I'll wait for the TV show. You should make the movie. Yeah.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
think I'd do it as a TV show though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you said it's like vignettes. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it the Last of Us treatment, just make it like a prestige, sort of TV limited series,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
How
Yeah.
do you kill that which has no life? Murderbot.
Murderbot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. Wow. Okay. All right. I'm trying to think like we're very like just right now I kind of feel like we're between things. Like, what are you watching right now?
To be honest, nothing,
Mm-hmm.
watching Dimension 20 Never After.
Mm-hmm.
The which as of this recording, the season finale is tomorrow.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so by the time this drops, it'll already be
Damn.
done. No spoilers, please. Um, yeah, as far as like TV show wise, like, yeah, I'm not watching, I guess like watching Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower
Oh
Decks.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not caught up, but I'm close to finishing the second season and I'm
Mm-hmm.
really enjoying it. Um, yeah, just kind of like the last big show that I watched was Andor.
Mm-hmm.
It was Obi-Wan and Andor because it was like I really wanted to watch Andor, but I was like, no, I want to check out Obi-Wan too. And the Obi-Wan was shorter, so I was like, well,
Yeah.
let's check that out. And I really enjoyed both of them for different reasons. Andor is did that come out? Did all of that come out this year? Is that a this year show?
Oh, I don't know.
Because if it is, it's my top. It's
Mm-hmm.
as of right now, it's the top show of the year for me.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah, that's kind of it. I'm sort of burnt out on, television.
I'm burnt out on everything.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's why I'm very specific about what I'm watching, like Picard,
yeah.
That's kind of I'm watching Picard, I'm watching Dark, but
Mm.
again, I'm really taking my time. I actually didn't watch it last week, and I'm missing it because I think I only have like 5 or 6 episodes left of the whole thing.
Oh,
So
dang.
I'm like, damn it, I don't want it to end. Uh, yeah, that's usually like my weekend watch. Instead of sitting down and watching like a 2 hour movie, I'm like, I'm gonna sit down, watch a 1 hour episode, and just have my mind blown. The only other thing we're watching is Lost.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight we met Kevin Johnson.
Mm-hmm. We
So we're
sure
talking
did.
about season 4, episode 8, Meet Kevin Johnson. Ben tells Danielle and Alex to leave camp and go to the temple. In flashbacks, Michael's journey from escaping the island to working as Ben's spy is revealed. What an episode.
What an episode.
Especially after well, we enjoyed the last one, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially after the Juliet one just kind of left a bad taste in our mouth. This was a nice kind of reset, like back into like the quality of the first half of the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I was a little worried too, because we've had episodes like sort of like this where they're like we're going back and explaining things like from the beginning all the way to now,
Yeah.
and in those situations it's a little bit more of like how the sausage gets made, you really don't want to know, or you're very curious and then it's not um it's not great. And this time around, I was only really disappointed in like how like suicidal Michael had become.
Mm,
You know
yeah.
that like I don't know, like it did feel sort of weird to me. This character who's fighting for 2 whole seasons trying to get his son, then just sort of shifts into this you
Yeah.
know, depressive, like, nope, this is it. Like, yeah, like I'm done, I'm over it sort of thing. But it does sort of set the stakes up for one, his journey throughout this episode. And then also I'm guessing like some sort of like redemption that maybe Michael will eventually get.
Yeah.
That's not really the talk here in this episode. In this episode, it's sort of punishing. you
Yeah, and
know?
I mean, definitely, Tom and Ben are using redemption as a manipulation tactic. You
Hmm.
know, you're gonna like your death, your suicide is your redemption because you're gonna save a lot of people. It's that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, man. Like it is kind of weird, but at the same time, like that's the story that they chose to tell, and it's it's a powerful one, man.
Yeah.
The man who just wants to die and he can't. The
Yeah.
island won't let him die.
That's
And
some Final
then,
Destination crap right
yeah.
there.
Oh, dude, totally. Which, just a side note, too, I remember, I think it was the second one. I was watching the director's commentary of Final Destination 2, and the director was talking about that. He's like, Final Destination, death is coming after you based on the order that you should have died in that original accident.
Uh-huh.
So if you're not the next one to die, you kind of can't die until the people in front of you do.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's what he wanted to explore in a further movie, and they never did. They kept the premise of death's coming to kill you, you know. But he wanted to explore that, how you're kind of immortal until the people in front of you die. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's kind of rad. That's so that is more like this episode, you know. We saw
Hmm.
Michael try to kill himself several times and nothing worked.
Yeah.
Like, oof, man. And then, of course, when he's actually thinks he's going to do it and he pushes the button on the bomb, the little note pops up and it's like,
Oh,
not yet. And even Ben
man.
didn't realize. He's like, you actually pushed the button? He's like, whoa. I was like, oh, dude, this guy, like, he's stuck in a living hell, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, which we find out, I want to say halfway through the episode, why. And
Hmm.
essentially, Michael tells Walt what he had to do. He tells him that he killed Annalise and Libby.
Hmm.
And Tom calls him out on it. He's like, you couldn't deal with the guilt of what you did, so you laid it on a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And that's why Walt doesn't want to see him. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man. Yeah, dude, that's rough. He fought for his son and now he got him and he lost him again. And it's like, dude.
Hmm. Hmm.
And what's interesting too is also that this whole episode, one, I think this is they said the second longest flashback in Lost,
Oh, really?
because the first one would have been the other 48 days because it was all flashback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that he's telling Saeed this, and Saeed's the one who turns him in at the end. He's like, so you're working with Benjamin Linus. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 because
Yeah.
we know that in the future Saeed is going to be working for him. Like,
Yeah.
oh, very interesting. It was this episode was very character heavy. I feel like there was some plot development, but not too much. It was just really seeing what Michael's been up to, and it was cool, man. Like there was a lot of familiar faces showed up.
Hmm.
Libby shows up for like weird nightmare and just flashes.
Yeah.
And Tom shows up, still
Hmm.
alive, enjoying
Hmm.
the penthouse life in New York.
Uh-huh.
George, Naomi, and like there's so many people showed up. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like so basically Ben essentially sends Michael to kill everyone on the boat. He starts meeting people and he starts getting cold feet. And then he meets Kimi and his men just shooting machine guns off, and he's like, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
So, and I think Frank was kind of the catalyst too, because like he had already been meeting people, but Frank was like, "That was an Oceanic 815 at the bottom of the ocean. I'm gonna find out where." So he's like, "Oh man, maybe I could see it in Michael's head, like maybe I should be talking with these guys instead of working for Ben."
Yeah.
But then we see Kimi and his men with their guns. I'm like,
Hmm.
ooh,
Hmm.
man. So, which I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about them later in the episode.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, it was just it's what a ride. Michael's story.
Hmm.
Timeline wise, it's very weird because I feel like it's only been weeks since the end of season 2.
Hmm.
So they would have had to get back, to New York. They have some kind of falling out. Michael go through all this, try and kill himself several times, end up working with Ben, gets on the boat. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
how long was he actually off the island? It's just weeks.
Well, hey, yeah, it's one, it's just weeks, but two, you got to think about, one, he told his 10-year-old son that he murdered two people to save him.
Yeah.
Uh and I can't imagine that there's what can he do? What is there to do? Like his mom, Michael's mom tells him that she can't tell anybody about
Either of
them,
them.
that they survived or something, that they were never on the plane, something,
Yeah.
yeah, she can't talk to him. So it's like, I'm imagining that's not easy for Michael either. Like, how do you explain where you are, who you are,
Yeah.
you know? And yeah, it just seems like getting Walt and getting off the island was so important that it didn't matter who got hurt or who got betrayed or who got left behind.
Right.
And now Michael can't live with that. That's a lot. That is a lot to,
Mm-hmm.
just process and get through. And yeah, I feel like a couple of weeks is enough time to let all that set in and be like,
Sure.
yeah.
But you're talking about mentally. I'm talking about physically. How long is it going to take to get to the middle of the ocean, back to mainland, move into New York with the mom? You know, like I'm talking about physically. How long was he off the island?
Oh, that's true. That's
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
I can we say a month? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, hey, time works differently on the island, you know?
True. We're not really sure how that works,
Yeah,
but
we're not sure how that works.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, because well, yeah. I mean, by the time he got recruited with Tom, that was even earlier because Tom dies at the end of season 3. So
exactly.
it's crazy, man. Like I don't know.
We're that Charlie Day, gif of,
Yeah,
him
at
with the
what point in the
crazy
timeline did
conspiracy
this?
board,
I gotta go
behind
back to
him.
Lostpedia and see the timeline. That's what I gotta do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, yeah. So this episode was wild. It's gonna be really interesting to see now what happens in Michael's story now that the captain knows
Hmm.
and Said and Desmond knows that he's there. Oh, one thing I did think was interesting was at the opening when the alarm is going off. Desmond jumps out of bed to put his shoes on, and Said is already wearing his.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a nice, clever little uh detail. You know, it's
Yeah.
like he's a soldier. He would do that. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how information is being spread out and being
Hmm.
disseminated, to everybody.
Yeah.
Because, okay, cool. Like last episode, we got some answers. The captain straight up is just like, this boat is owned by Charles Widmore, and doing all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay, cool, great. But then this episode, we find out, oh, yeah, the boat that you're going to be sneaking on, Michael, is owned by Charles Widmore, who did this. And he's
Yeah.
the one who put the plane in the ocean,
Hmm.
dug up all the bodies in Thailand or wherever, and put it in a slipstream so that it's deep enough that nobody that it's going to be too expensive, all this stuff. It's
Hmm.
very interesting how this information is being spread out and disseminated, because there's truth in all of it. You know, the captain probably doesn't know that Woodmore did that. You know, but
Because
Michael
even
does.
yeah, he Captain last week even said he's like, that's why we need to find Benjamin Linus. I'm like,
Yeah,
that just
yeah. So
means so do you think Ben did that? You know, it's like no,
yeah.
Widmore
Yeah,
did.
exactly. Exactly. And so it's going to be interesting because it's it's the same puzzle. We're just looking at it on opposite sides,
Yeah.
or something. And yeah, because now Michael and Saeed and Desmond, they have this picture that they're just you know, can't quite make sense of.
Yeah.
And poor Desmond too. Like, I don't think he said one line this whole episode. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, he's
You
just listening.
know?
He's like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to think, did he even meet Michael?
I don't think he ever met
He
Michael.
didn't, because he was gone. Desmond showed up in the beginning and the end of season 2.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
never met Michael. He's just like, all right, I'll follow your lead, Saeed.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, all that. Yeah. And it, it's very easy for Desmond to, think of Charles Widmore as some sort of like humanitarian, because that's technically what he is.
Well, yeah, but he still knows he's a dick.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's one thing
He
to know
left
that
the
this
water on in the restroom, Sam.
True.
What you're saying is he knows what his like profession is.
Yeah.
Like a businessman,
Yeah.
humanitarian. He's putting up like that front, but he's really a dick.
Exactly. And those are two different things. You can be super rich and be a dick, and not be this, super friends level villain.
Yeah,
This Legion of Doom, type of guy.
He's like a Lex Luthor for sure.
This is a Lex Luthor, sort of thing, man. And like, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, I know that rich guy. He's a dick. And then also, it's like, think like, oh,
so if he's Lex Luthor,
is it also possible that he would like kill a bunch of people?
Right.
Send a bunch of people to go kill other people? And from the tape that we saw that Ben showed Locke of Widmore being part of some, thing and getting
the crap out of that guy.
Yeah, beating the crap out of the guy, potentially killing the guy. We know that Widmore's got blood on his hands.
So if Widmore is Lex Luthor, who's Benjamin Linus? Is he like the Riddler, but he's playing above his league? Or is he more of like
I
don't know.
That's an interesting one.
Well, we'll think about it. You can get back to me next week.
Yeah.
Which means we'll forget about it. Okay, let's see. What happened off the island or on the island? Excuse me.
Were we even on island this episode?
Oh, yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Everything at the barracks. So Ben finally starts talking, the truth. He's telling the truth and all this stuff. And that's really all anyone wanted. They just want to be in the know. But everyone's kind of torn because they realize they're going to have to protect Ben, because second he's dead, they're going to kill everyone on the island.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. We didn't see Jack's camp or anything. But then at the end, or I guess midway through, Ben tells Alex, Carl, and Danielle, like, you have to get to the temple. It's the last safe place on the island. And the temple's for us, not for Locke and his people. So you got to go. Because they would probably use Alex as leverage. And Carl's like, I think he's right. And Danielle secretly knows he's right in French. So they set out, and then the episode ends while they're trekking through the jungle, drinking some water and talking, and then you hear pew, 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 and Carl gets shot. Carl! Man, dude, talk about it. Was so scary because you don't see where they're coming from. And Danielle and Alexandra are behind the tree, and she's like, she just takes her hand. She's like, on the count of 3, we'll go. Stay close to me. She's like, okay, 1, 2, 3. And Russo's automatically taken out. It's
yep.
Like, oh,
yep.
Oh my God. Yep, we loved her. And then Alex pretty much says she opens. She's like, no, I'm Ben's daughter.
Yeah.
Take me alive. We're like, oh no. So now they're gonna have their leverage. Damn, Damn it, dude.
I know. I did notice
Mm-hmm.
two writers for this episode, or was it Emily Sarsnoff?
I think it's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth Sarnoff and Brian K. Vaughan.
Mm-hmm. And sort of, it's very interesting because I know Brian K. Vaughan is a comic guy,
Mm-hmm.
so seeing, sort of that work, play out here. It's very interesting because like this episode did have sort of like a saga sort of feeling to it, you know,
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
sort of playing around like the themes definitely, like this sort of like twisted sense of redemption,
Mm-hmm.
the mind games that are sort of being played between all these people, and Michael
Mm-hmm.
sort of being like the catalyst of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But also just the episode very much ends on like a Brian K. Vaughan saga sort of cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very cute and it's very sweet, and we're gonna get there. And then nope, young lovers torn apart because one of them gets shot to death,
Yeah.
and the other person's mom gets taken out, and you're just like, damn it. And then you got to admit that you're the thing that you've never wanted to admit in your whole life. You're Ben's
Mm.
daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he has a handful of episodes in the show.
Mhm.
Uh but
Yeah,
Sarnoff,
I've noticed some of them before. Yeah.
Sarnoff has been with the show since season 2, and I think she goes all the way to the end. So
Mm,
yeah, man.
solid work in this episode.
So are they the MVPs? Who's MVPs? I think Harold Perrineau did pretty damn good.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
mostly just give it to the main actor, you know? The
yeah.
show's kind of built on that. Like they're gonna focus on one actor this episode.
True, but sometimes we don't give it to the main actor.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's not the actor's fault because they don't give them a lot to do.
enough to
You know what I
do.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's a
So
lot of season two. But yeah, I would say Harold
yeah.
Perrineau definitely is MVP this episode with shout out to the writers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Harold Perrineau and writers. Okay, so after this episode aired, the show went on break for a while
Really?
because of the writer strike.
Oh, that's right.
They like, I don't remember if it was still happening or it was already done or what, but they basically had to catch up
Mm,
because this season was originally supposed to be 16 episodes,
mm-hmm,
just like because the last 3 seasons are all 16.
mm-hmm.
But then because the writer strike, I think it ended up getting cut down to 12.
Okay.
And then as soon as like the writer's strike ended, they're like, here's a bag of money. Give us 2 extra episodes. Because the writers
Mm,
were like, we can't tell this whole season in just 12 episodes. So they
yeah.
ended up doing it in 14 episodes.
Okay.
So yeah, man, we're already like over halfway in, you know? It's a
Mm-hmm.
very short season. But you know, the speed of which everything is flowing, like I'm okay with it. Like I like it.
Yeah, yeah. I do
So
too.
and then like after like that's our cliffhanger, and then we had to wait a month or several weeks, something like that, until we find out what happens. And like, ay Dios mío. Luckily, you and I will not be taking a break.
Yeah.
So, all right, prediction, Sam.
Man, I don't know. I don't even know anymore, man. Well, Tom did say something about the island won't let you die before it's your time to die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I feel like Michael's not making it out this season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
you know, and it's gonna suck.
So, will he be redeemed
Yeah, in a sense, yeah,
in a lost kind of way? You
yeah,
know, that's what I feel
yeah.
like. Like,
Because that's the thing. Like Tom and Ben are offering Michael this redemption, but we know what that looks like for them. We know
bloody.
what that looks like for the others. It's bloody and it's
Yeah.
bad and it corrupts you.
Mm-hmm.
we can see that in Michael. He's like he's not, he's not having it. He's twisted,
Yeah.
inside. So I feel like he's gonna get his redemption, but it's gonna be on his terms, and it's good. I don't know if it'll be in sort of like a Charlie sort of way, sacrifice myself to like do this big thing for everybody.
Right.
But I feel like it's gonna be something that's gonna give somebody an out, you
Yeah.
know.
And I think the fact that he's back with Saeed, someone who he did consider a friend, I think that's going to play a role in that.
Yeah,
Because even
yeah,
all the way up until he got that bomb, like he was willing to blow up everyone on that ship for
yeah,
his redemption and his just a shot to kill himself.
yeah.
But now that he's back, not on the island, but with Saeed, I think that's going to uh, remind him who he is,
Mhm.
who was Michael before, early seasons Michael,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's very meta to think of it that way. But yeah, I think that's going to kind of awaken some of that in him. So man, pacing is picking up.
I know, I know.
It feels like, okay, the storm's not coming. It feels like we're entering, you know
Yeah.
the waves are getting choppy, the wind is getting cool. Okay, so next week we are talking about season 4, episode 9, The Shape of Things to Come.
Oh boy.
All I wrote for the little tease is the battle for the island begins.
Ah, crap.
Guys, thanks for joining us. We had fun. As always, hit us up on Twitter, hashtag Lost Legacies. You can find me at _ Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Real, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Yep. Until next time, get lost.
Get lost.